Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your guest co-host, my fellow purple belt, Coty Dankh. Today, we're going to talk about UFC Vegas 107. Erin Blanchfield versus Maycee Barber. And my friends, it's going down this Saturday night live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. You got two very feisty young women about to go at it. And I don't know if you've heard the buildup, Coty, but these two have not held back on their feelings towards each other. Not to mention, these are two of the few that get violent in this division. So without further ado, let's get right down to business, because in this main event, we got Erin Blanchfield. She's 13-2, taking on Maycee Barber, who's 14-2. Currently, they got it. Erin Blanchfield minus 240. The comeback on Maycee Barber is plus 205. As far as the measurables, a 3-inch reach advantage for Erin Blanchfield, despite being 1 inch shorter in this spot. So, I mean, dude, right off the bat, I'm very excited about this for a variety of reasons. We got a black belt on Erin Blanchfield taking on a purple belt in Maycee Barber. But as you know, there are punches, kicks, knees, and elbows involved. This is not pure jiu-jitsu. And I love the physicality of Maycee Barber. In fact, I went back and I watched that fight she had with Amanda Ribas. Coty, I think that might literally be one of my favorite women's MMA fights I've ever seen. Such a badass fight. And there's a lot to get into. But before we do that, Coty, tell me your thoughts on this fight, and welcome to Half the Battle.
Hey man, glad to be here. First of all, shout out to that graphics, man. Your graphics guy, meticulous. Shout out, because
shout out to Goat
clean.
Meticulous.
Yep, and happy to be on here, man. Long overdue. Big fan of the show. Been watching it for years. Been following you on Twitter and YouTube for years. So I mean, obviously we go back and forth a good bit. We like to talk fights sometimes, but and just BS a little bit. But it's been nice to come on the show for the first time. And it's an Apex card, but honestly, like you said, you're going to hear it from half the community. Oh, women's MMA main event. And I get it, but at the same time, this ain't one of those. This is a great fight. This is a great fight. I'm really looking forward to it. I think there's a bunch of bangers on this card, but this main event is really good. And two girls who, I mean, if we see a finish, we could see one of them fighting for a title here soon. I mean, Blanchfield, everybody seems to be hopping off the train because she had a tough loss. But hey, Filho is a great fighter who just fought for the title, lost a decision to the champ, one of the greatest 125ers of all time. And styles make fights. This is going to be a completely different matchup. You got Macy, who does like to get takedowns of her own, can be taken down herself. We're going to see if Blanchfield can take advantage of that. But I'm really looking forward to seeing Macy in a 5-round fight, because you talked about it. She's had a lot of entertaining fights. She's probably got some of the best power in the division. But not only does she have power and can be a finisher, especially if he gets on top of you, but she carries that. Like she tends. I mean, we haven't seen it in 5 rounds, but we've seen it in the 3rd round. So I think everybody's been saying, oh, Macy early success, late success, Blanchfield. I don't know if I agree with that. I think either of these girls we could see take over late, because I think both got great cardio, both are durable, both are tough, both are confident, both are young. Like, this is gonna be a great fight, man. I guess I slightly lean on the Blanchfield side, because I think if the biggest discrepancy is probably if Blanchfield can get on top. That being said, man, the power, the fact that I do think that she heats up as the fight goes on, and maybe she doesn't have quite the volume Blanchfield does, but I do think she's going to land the bigger, heavier, more eye-catching shots on the feet. So then it's more of a matter of, can she stuff some of these takedowns? It's going to be a close fight, man. Honestly, I struggle with the main and co-main. I'm not going to lie, and a spoiler alert for the next one. But I will lean Blanchfield. I will say the line at this point, it's got to be dog or pass for me. If you're getting plus 200 on a girl like Maycee Barber, how wrong can you really be? But I don't know. What do you think? Have you any bet on this fight?
No bet on this fight, but opinion on this fight. So last week when it was, in the minus 100s for Blanchfield, I was thinking, okay, Maycee Barber has been taken down, I believe, 14 times in her UFC career, and Erin Blanchfield's landed 15 takedowns in her UFC career. It's either that or switched around. But bottom line, going into it, when I just researched the stats and I saw that, I thought it was a no-brainer that Blanchfield's going to be able to get these takedowns. And, with a black belt of her caliber, she's like one of these young prodigies that was a black belt when she was like 21 or some stuff, I thought, certain things might happen there. But when I actually sat down and watched the tape, so yes, Barber does get taken down, but Barber is damn hard to hold down, man. Barber works her way back up to the cage, wall walks, gets back up, and then she makes you pay. She delivers damage, which is huge. And the thing about it is, for Erin to cover this price tag, it's not just about getting takedowns. It's about establishing top control and dominance and damage, of course. And the thing about it, like you said, Macy's willing to dish out that damage. And like, again, I go back to that Amanda Holobaugh fight. Dude, y'all gotta watch that fight. There were certain qualities that Macy brings to the table that you don't often see, especially in this weight class. And you see the looks on these girls' faces when she connects, and you see the bloody messes. But then on the other side with Erin Blanchfield, she doesn't look like the most physically imposing, but like when she gets on top of you, like, it's like life alert, help, I've fallen and can't get up. Like, these girls can't get her off of her. So yeah, obviously, like, pure pick, I still lean Blanchfield, but I agree with you on this one that it has now moved into a dogger pass situation. And again, this is kind of, I don't know if it's irrelevant, just kind of fun. I love the pre-fight buildup between these two. Like I said, they're feisty, they're mean. Like, these aren't, like, again, people are like, oh, it's a women's MMA main event. Guys, is this like Aspen Ladd fighting or some shit? Or is this like, two girls that get down and dirty? Like, if I'm going to watch a Natalia Silva fight or a Yan Xiaonan fight or Blanchfield or Barber, I ain't going to cry. That ain't no Aspen Ladd. That ain't, these two put on the kind of fights the fans want to see. So, you can say whatever you want, but, I think that they're going to deliver. And I absolutely think they're going to deliver Saturday night. I think it's going to be a scrap, man. I think there's going to be a 5-round war, damage being dished out by Maycee Barber, some top control dominance by Erin Blanchfield. Can Erin Blanchfield possibly be the first to submit Maycee Barber? That remains to be seen. So yeah, pure pick, I'll go with Blanche, but as this line has started to widen, I'm starting to think it's a dogger pass situation. Now, next up in the co-main event of the evening, we got Mateusz Gamrot. He's 24-3, taking on Ludovit Klein, who's 23-4-1. And currently they got it Mateusz Gamrot -170. The comeback on Ludovit Klein is +145. Ludovit Klein is 30. Mateusz Gamrot 34. Allegedly, I think he's more like 35, 36. But yeah, my boy Ludovit is entering his prime right now. And this is a really well-matched fight because Mateusz Gamrot brings a very unique wrestling style to the game. And what is that? The low single attacks, which you don't often see in MMA. You'll see in college wrestling, a rare example in MMA. I know you'll think this is funny. Randy Couture taking down James Toney, who, he went for the low single there because there was like zero chance he was going to stuff that. But I'm saying with an actual trained MMA fighter, the fact that he's been able to make this work at the highest level is unbelievable. And I truly think that Mateusz Gamrot's peak was in 2022 when he fought Arman Tsarukyan. Because one thing that a lot of people don't understand or maybe, fail to realize is that Gamrot already had a full career in KSW before he came into the UFC. Like, he was already a champ there. He already fought multiple 5-round fights there and came into the UFC, I believe, with over 20 professional fights. So he wasn't like one of these guys off Contender Series who's 5-0, who's like getting his feet wet. This guy came into the UFC flat out ready to go into contention. And I truly believe, like I said, that Arman Tsarukyan fight in 2022, that was the peak. If you're going to give Gamrot a title shot, that was the time to do it. But unfortunately, since that fight, he's been on a decline. And the thing about it, Coty, is age, numerical age, and fight years age, mileage, are two completely different things. Because you look at Jasmine Jastovicius, 36, 37, but she's getting better every single fight, right? Whereas with Gamrot, yeah, he's only 34, no big deal. Like, it seems like you're entering your prime at that age, but I think this guy's on a decline, and I think the signs have been there for a while. And not to mention, this guy's been dropped in, I think, 4 of his last 6 fights, and in 5 UFC fights total. And if we're talking about how, this is a levels fight or whatnot, yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a levels fight if Ludovit Klein was like I said, 2-0 in the UFC, hadn't paid dues, hadn't earned the opportunity to get this step up in competition. There's so much to talk about with this fight, so I'm just going to rattle off all my points while I have them fresh in my head. Guys, I don't use notes. I go straight off what's in here, my memory. So a lot of people are putting a lot of stock into the fact that Ludovit Klein didn't have his best performances against Roosevelt Roberts and Jai Herbert. And let me ask y'all something. What the hell do Roosevelt Roberts and Jai Herbert have in common with Mateusz Gamrot? Hey, I got a question for you, Coty. Is Mateusz Gamrot a 6'2" black guy? I'm curious. Is he? Is it? No,
They
seriously.
couldn't fight more different.
Oh, okay. So you're telling me that this matchup is not a 5'7" striker, Klein, versus a 6'2" striker in Herbert and Roosevelt Roberts, where Klein's the guy who has to close the distance. Completely different matchup. Gamrot is a 5'9" low single wrestler. It's not Ludovit Klein that's going to be after closing the distance here. It's Ludovit Klein that's going to have to keep this on the outside. Sprawl and brawl, baby. He's got over 90% takedown defense, and I get it. Who has he fought that can remotely, who has remotely the same kind of wrestling as Gamrot? I'll concede none of these guys, but I've seen the technique necessary to where I think when he does step up in competition, he'll be ready to deal with someone on this caliber. Like in that Moises fight, I get it. Moises is kind of on his way out. And it's funny, we talk about numerical age versus fight years. Moises is like 30. Moises is like way younger than Gamrot, but in fight years, where's he at? And my boy Klein stuffed 8 takedowns in that spot. And it's more so about, I get it. Those guys, these guys aren't, Mason Jones and Thiago Moises, they aren't the wrestlers that Gamrot is, right? But I saw the requisite technique that I think will translate as he steps up in competition. And the way I see this fight playing out is I see the damage being caused by Ludovit Klein. Now, whether that means that Ludovit Klein is going to be the first man in UFC history and MMA history, to knock out Mateusz Gamrot, that remains to be seen. But there's also a scenario where this fight goes all 3 rounds. He does get taken down a few times, but while they're on the feet, he's landing the only damage in the fight. And I mean, let me tell you this. If you want proof that Gamrot's on a decline, if you're a real contender, like I'm talking about, if you're a real guy that's a threat to the title, you don't have no 50-50 life and death fight with Dan Hooker. You don't lose a split decision to Dan Hooker if you're a legit threat to the title. And in 2022, I thought that Gamrot was a legit threat to the title. Guys, we're almost halfway done with 2025, and I'm beyond halfway done with Gamrot. Give me Klein to come out here and land the damage. Like I said, whether it's a knockout, whether it's a damage-based decision, I'm cool with whatever. Sprawl and brawl. Obviously the difference in technique on the feet, the difference in speed on the feet. And like when we talk about Gamrot's wrestling being his, obviously his strength, his last few fights, like against Hooker and like Daniel Cormier is like criticizing his wrestling technique. Daniel Cormier is out here being like, I don't like that. I don't like how Gamrot just sat down on his ass for that takedown. Like, I feel like Gamrot is on a steep decline, and whether I'm right or not remains to be seen. But one thing I do know is I put my money where my mouth is, 2 units on Ludovit Klein at plus 140 to come out here, get the biggest win of his career. He's paid the dues to earn this opportunity. You beat Mason Jones. You beat Ignacio Bahamondes. You beat Thiago Moises. Now you earn that step up in competition. Ludovit, you crushed the grapes. Saturday night, let's drink the wine. I'm going Ludovit Klein for the biggest win of his career and for the upset against the very well-respected Mateusz Gamrot. Let's get it.
Yeah, man, it's tough to follow that up. Now, I don't have as passionate of a take as you do, so I'm not going to try to follow that up too much because I think I agree with about pretty much everything you said, man. This was one I saw that you posted on Twitter. You made a bet today, and it definitely was just another thing on the checklist for me because I do respect your opinion. And I was like, Klein has been looking like one of the few underdogs I like on this card. It's been really tough for me because I do feel like Gamrot, like you said, I do feel like he is kind of declining. And there's been a lot of evidence.
I mean, Coty, he had a 50-50 fight with Jalen Turner, retired fighter. A 50-50 fight with Guram, wasn't even a 500 UFC fighter, and that guy knocked him down. Like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, I understand in 2022 that fight with Sarukian, which, let me remind you, a lot of people thought that Sarukian won that fight, and that was Gamrot's peak. So now he's having 50-50 fights with Dan Hooker. Yeah, okay, bro. Give me the. It's not like I'm coming out here minus 170 on Klein. I'm coming out here plus 140. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, no, and I bet Gamrot in that Arman fight, and I might have got away with one there. That could have went either way. It was a super competitive fight, and that's the thing is Gamrot gets in these fights that are always so competitive. They're always so close. The finish upside's on the Klein side. Obviously, you got the plus money. I'm surprised you got through the whole breakdown. You didn't mention he might have the best doctor in the game. I wanted to let you say that.
Yeah, listen, guys. I'm still on the waiting list for Ludovit Klein's doctor. You know, as soon as I hear back, you'll be seeing some TRT Barney-esque qualities in myself.
I'm gonna be right there with you, bro. I'm going on 31 this year, so a couple years, and I'm gonna be hitting up Klein's doctor myself. So I tried to let you be the one to say it, but
I appreciate that. So a comment here: if you just look at the rankings, Gamrot should absolutely 100% win this fight. Yeah, that's because I believe Ludovit is not ranked. That this is how this shit works. Ignacio Bahamondes, I believe, was not ranked. Jalen Turner was ranked. You usher the people that don't belong in those spots out the rankings. Like Gamrot, I got a lot of blame to give Gamrot. Gamrot is the reason that Dan Hooker is currently a top 5 guy. Can anyone here that knows anything about fighting look me in the eye with a straight face and tell me that Dan Hooker is a real top 5 guy in the UFC lightweight division? I'm not being disrespectful. I think that Dan Hooker, yeah, top 15, top 20, whatever. But top 5, yeah, thanks a lot, Gamrot. You know what I'm saying? Like Hooker's a career journeyman in the UFC. And he's a top 5 guy because of you, Mateusz Gamrot.
Imagine what happens if he fights any of those. I think Ignacio Bahamondes would fuck Dan Hooker up.
Yeah, amongst other people too. You know what I'm saying?
He's unranked. Is he finally ranked now? Who cares? The rankings mean nothing. Guys,
he's fighting Fiziev though. Ignacio.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And you know what's funny? Ignacio posted a video today of him. It's like a little skit, but him KOing a partner with a spinning back fist to the face, kind of like Fiziev got KO'd in his debut against what was the dude's name? Magomed something. The spinning back kick Russian. What the fuck is his name?
Oh wow,
he doesn't fight anymore that often, but he was like a stud back in the day. He fought Kevin Lee. I don't remember the dude's name, but he was like real explosive spins. Yeah, in the chat, who is this guy I'm talking about? Yeah. Y'all know who this is? I'm gonna look it up. I ain't letting this go. It's Magomed something. The dude's a fucking spinning back kick beast. And he knocked out Fiziev with a spinning back fist a spinning back kick to the face. All right, I got it coming up. It's coming up.
That was right before the Moicano fight, right?
Yeah. Okay, so it was Magomed Mustafayev.
That's right.
Magomed Mustafayev. Yo, chat. What's up, man? None of y'all knew this? I had to look it up. It's all good. So let's move on. So, featured bout in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Billy Goff. He's 9-3, taking on Ramiz Brahimaj, who's 11-5. Currently, they got it. Billy Goff minus 340. The comeback on Ramiz Brahimaj is plus 265. 32 years old is Ramiz, 26 years old, Billy Ray Goff. So, 6-year age gap. And the reach, virtually identical as my man Mike Goldberg likes to say. So, an interesting matchup. So, the older guy here has a reputation of being a first round or bust kind of guy. He's never won a fight that's gone past round 2. In fact, he's only won one fight that's gone past round 1. And with Goff, he's known for being one of these guys that'll take that ass whooping up front and then put it on you later. And that's what I love about this fight, Coty, because Brahimaj could absolutely finish Goff in the first round, because Goff does get dropped in the first round in many, many fights. And Ramiz, that's where he's most dangerous. But on the other side of things, Ramiz is known, if he cannot get you out early, he breaks late. And Goff is known for breaking dudes late. So how do you see this going? And also, with these odds, I know he's a round one or bust guy, but at plus 265, we can make some concessions. What do you think?
Dude, they're really trying to make me take a shot on Brahimaj, which I thought I would never do. Like, I have faded this guy every chance I could. I faded him against Max Griffin when his ear fell off. I faded him by decision against Court McGee. And then I faded him against Thimba. I had a perfect record going, and then my dumbass bet Mickey Gall. I took it a step too far and thought he. Then again, I mean, if they fight 10 times, I don't know. I will say when Brahimaj showed up looking the best shape of his life and Mickey Gall was looking a little flabby, I was a little worried. But he obviously sparked Mickey Gall out. Does that mean he all of a sudden? And people are saying, oh, he's working on his striking a ton. I don't know if he wants to do too much striking in this one. That being said, man, I've seen Goff on his back, and he doesn't look like a world beater when it comes to the grappling. Brahimaj, like you said, tends the fade. A guy like Goff, who's probably going to be working the body, he is a bit of a smaller guy, which does seem to help his gas tank. But he is a smaller guy. So round one, can Brahimaj bully him to the ground? If he does, man, and you got Goff parlayed up at 3-1, whoo, you're gonna be sweating. So it's 100% dogger pass. I like Goff. Like, how can you not like the guy's style? I think, gun to my head, he probably wins TKO. But the first round's gonna be dicey. And then, hey, if there's somebody Brahimaj could potentially win a decision against, would I be absolutely shocked if he did some good work in the first, gets on top for the second and just lays on him, and then survives the third? Wouldn't be shocked. I think the line's off, man. So, dogger pass.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Ramiz won a decision based on the merit that
statistically.
Let me pull up if what I'm about to say is correct, just so that the fans don't absolutely fucking
0-4 to decisions.
Eviscerate me. No, I know that part's right, but what I wanted to prove was something else. Okay. Yes. Thank you, UFC stats. All right, listen, man, this last fight that Billy Goff just had with this kid Trey Waters, first of all, do you know what the physical attributes of Trey Waters are off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, no, but I know he's freaking enormous, dude. How he makes that weight class, the world will never know.
Okay, so basically, let's put it like this: Trey Waters, 6'5" with a 77-inch reach, and that, allegedly, because I heard Phil Rowe do an interview where, like, he's got this old school boxing coach where when they measured the reach, they don't want people to know how long the reach actually is, so he kind of like brought his arms in a little bit, so they don't actually know how long his reach really is. And I could totally see that's like an old school like boxing thing that those dudes like to do. And Trey Waters, another one of those guys. Like, I could totally see that being the case. So what I'm trying to say here is he went against a 6'5" guy who has a damn near 80-inch reach. All right. Now let's look at my boy Ramiz, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. This is a lot more evenly matched in terms of, this is literally not, this is evenly matched. 5'10", 72-inch reach, 72-inch reach. So there's not going to be a ridiculous amount of closing the distance or whatnot. And the reason I brought that up is because when you pull up the numbers that Billy Ray Goff had in a fight where he had to close insane distance against that 6'5", 80-inch reach guy we're talking about. Round 2, Billy Goff attempts almost 100 significant strikes, lands 51 of them. Round 3 lands 27 significant strikes. And I know 27 significant strikes, okay, that's pretty good for a single round. But let me tell you something else. What do you think the most amount of strikes Ramiz has ever landed in a single UFC fight? I'm talking throughout 3 rounds. I'm not talking about 1 round. So Goff had 27 significant strikes in just round 3 against that 6'5" opponent. What is the most amount of strikes that Ramiz has ever landed in a 3-round fight?
I want to say like under 30.
Yeah, so most of his fights, okay, look at this. Against Gall, 31, because it was just like a swarm. Against Thimba, three significant strikes in 3 rounds, guys. I repeat, 3 significant strikes in 3 rounds. Okay. No significant strikes the next fight because he just took the guy down. Okay. 32 against Court McGee. Okay. So his most was in his debut when he got his ear ripped off against Max Griffin. Now still only 45 across 3 rounds. Guys, these numbers are way too low. So I get your point. Ramiz come out with that big first round and then maybe get a takedown and lay on him. I just don't see Billy Goff accepting bottom position, especially when I think that Ramiz is going to start to slow down the second half of that fight. So yeah, give me Billy Goff, probably 29-28 unanimous decision or late stoppage, but leaning more. I just either think it's going to be a first round stoppage by Ramiz or a unanimous decision by Goff. Pure pick Goff.
Yeah. I agree.
Next up in the light heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Dustin Jacoby. He is 29-1, taking on Bruno Lopes, who's 14-1. I believe he's 14-2 because he lost to RoboCop and he lost to Brengerson Ribeiro. But they announced him as 13-1 in his last UFC fight, and he had like a funny look when they said that. Currently, they got it -200 Jacoby. The comeback on Bruno Lopes is +170. So real quick, just to make sure I'm right about this, didn't Lopes lose to RoboCop in amateurs and then lose to Brengerson Ribeiro on Contender Series?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So my boy Meticulous is not in the wrong here because I watched Bruno Lopez's last fight against Gajisulov like before we came on here, and when they announced him, they were like, they said he was 12-1 or 13-1. They said one loss, and he was like, okay, I'll take it, but I seem to remember differently. Now, listen, man, this is obviously a big step up in competition for Bruno Lopes here. But that being said, he could arguably be catching Dustin Jacoby at a good time, considering that my boy Jacoby is born in 1988. I talk about it often. If you were born before 1990, fighting someone born after 1990, I need a damn good reason to pick you. I think the strength of schedule difference and technique difference is a pretty damn good reason to pick him, let alone the fact that when you take down Jacoby, if you take down Jacoby, he pops right back up to his feet. So although I do think his chin is kind of on the, kind of diminishing a bit and he's slowing down, his like get up game and takedown defenses have gotten better. And that makes this interesting because even though, he has slowed down standing, he's still got way better technique than this guy. But this guy, LFA champion, black belt, experienced. I mean, this is the biggest opportunity of his life. He's only 31, 32. What do you think about this fight, man?
Honestly, man, I think Jacoby's going to smoke him. I really think Jacoby's either going to knock this guy out or double him up and make it look easy. I like Lopes. Like, I think he's pretty well-rounded, but I think that other than the pretty record and the fact that Jacoby's getting a little up there, I think people are overblowing Jacoby being like fragile. I mean, he's got like 10 UFC fights and look at who he's fought. Like, he's fought not only great fighters or like good fighters and some solid, like really good fighters, but he's going 15 minutes with Khalil Roundtree. I thought he won that fight. I bet Khalil and I got away with one. I thought. Azamat Murzakanov, Alonzo Minifield, Dominic Reyes. Kennedy Nzechukwu, he beat him, first of all, finished him. But other than him, like all four of those dudes, I honestly think knocked Bruno Lopes out. Not only beat him, but I would pick them via finish. And again, I see that on paper, Lopes, he looks tough. He hasn't been finished a lot. This is a freaking massive step up, dude. I think Jacoby's good. I think Jacoby's a lot better than his record shows. I think he's had some tough losses, some losses I didn't necessarily agree with. He has shown some, questionable fight IQ in some of these fights. But I think his takedown defense isn't bad. I think I would honestly be a little surprised if Lopes came in here and just like took him down and submitted him. And outside of that, like, I honestly don't see him competing on the feet unless he just lands a fucking meme shot. Other than that, I think Jacoby can make this guy look like an amateur on the feet. I don't know. I think he's going to beat his ass. I got Jacoby. I bet him at -170.
Yeah, that last fight with Vitor Petrino, I mean, the difference in athleticism, there, not to mention that matchup, but also Vitor compared to Bruno Lopes. It's just night and day, and that fight was 1-1 going to round 3. I'll be honest, I thought that Vitor was kind of cruising to a 29-28. Hey, it ain't over till it's over, like Yogi Berra used to say, and in those last 90 seconds, man, Dustin found the kill shot. And he's very, like I said, very hard to hold down, instantly working back up to his feet. But yeah, regarding him being fragile, it's not about him being fragile. It's just more so about, he's getting up there in age. He's got a kickboxing background from, like before he was in the UFC, right? Like he fought like Poatan and shit. You know what I'm saying, dude? Like, so yeah, he's getting wobbled more in fights, and these are big boys. That has to be brought up. But besides that, I think the technique difference, the experience difference, the strength of schedule difference should be enough to take Jacoby to the promised land. But we'll see what happens. Pure pick. I'm gonna go Jacoby here. My boy Wiz in the chat says, shout out to one of the realists in the game. My guy Dan subbed me infinite times. He knows his shit. Hey, let me say something real quick about my boy Wiz. This man is one of the only people I know that had the balls to come to my gym and challenge me to a roll. So much respect, dude. Like, I know tons of people that talk a big game on Twitter, but they don't step up when it's time to step up. And my boy Wiz came to my gym, super humble guy, the man. Obviously, if you talk fights with him, he knows what he's talking about. But you should see his striking, and he's no slouch on the mat either. So yeah, man, shout out to my boy Wiz for being one of the real ones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, respect. I've had so many people say they're going to come to the gym and never do. So shout out to Wiz, respect. Especially when realistically, you're up against it. Dan's a fucking legit purple belt. You're coming from a striking background. To show up is one thing when you're going to beat somebody up. To show up when realistically it's going to be a tough roll, respect, dude.
Yeah, and he didn't just roll with me. He rolled with like IBJJF gold medalist. He wasn't looking for easy rounds. But he wasn't being like, oh, like you're the sensei, you're the master, I'm gonna take you out. No, he was like, a humble, badass dude. So much love to Wiz. Now, before we talk about the next fight, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Bet105. Which book offers -105 odds on all major sports, no KYC, and no games when it's time to get paid? That's right, Bet105. This weekend, my friends at Bet105 got a special offer for you. If you're looking to parlay Erin Blanchfield and Billy Goff, right now it's currently about -115, -116. Bet105 is going to knock 20% off of that and give you this parlay at plus money, currently at +103 odds. Add a third leg, and you might be looking at a nice return. Now, we talk about it every single week. This year, the split decisions have been absolutely ridiculous. Whether we're talking about the Francis Marshall fight, more recently, Iwan Cutelaba losing to Modestas Bukauskas, or even that Sumu Derji fight against Mitch Raposo. Like, how was that a split? With Bet105 split decision insurance, at least give me the peace of mind that should this fight go to a split decision, I'm going to get 25% of my money back. We don't know what side of the bed Ron McCarthy woke up on. We don't know what this incompetent fraud Adelaide Bird is seeing. And we don't know if Chris Lee is going to be looking at his phone or actually watching the fight when it's time to submit those scorecards. So with Bet105 split decision insurance, if you win, you get paid out, no big deal. But if you lose that split decision, at least give me 25% of my money back. That's better than nothing. So guys, go to bet105.ag, use my promo code HALFTHEBATTLE, deposit $100 and get a $50 free bet at bet105.ag using my promo code HALFTHEBATTLE. Now let's get back to the show. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Ketlen Vieira. She's 14-4, taking on Macy Chiasson, who is 10-3. Currently, they got it. Macy Chiasson -125. The comeback on Ketlen Vieira is +105. 5'11" Chiasson taking on 5'8" Ketlen Vieira, both 33 years old, 4-inch reach advantage for Macy Chiasson. And Coty, this is an interesting fight because I'll be honest with you, when it was announced, I was like, I swear I've seen this fight like 10 times already. And a lot of people think that Macy Chiasson, and they've been saying this for a while, has the potential to actually make a run in this division. I know she's got a win over Norma Dumont, controversial or not. That's a big win in that division. It's just she's kind of been lacking the consistency. And on the other side with Vieira, I thought that back like when she fought Kat Zingano, like back in those days, that she actually had a legitimate chance to fight for a belt. But, obviously she had some ups and downs, kind of like lost the key fight to get her to that next level at each time. But man, she's competitive with everyone she fights for the most part. And she's got really good takedown defense, you know, with that judo background. And she's just kind of serviceable striking. And just like every fight of hers is like a close split decision type fight. So for me, man, I mean, I could see this going either way. I'm going to go Ketlen Vieira here for the upset.
Okay. Yeah. Looks like we're going to be on the opposite sides on this one.
The fans will like that. The fans will like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've agreed a lot on this side. You know, I do think this could be a good opportunity to use. What was your code one more time over at Bet 105?
Half the battle.
Half the battle. You could be a good time to sign up over there and get that split decision insurance because yeah. And I honestly am thinking, be a good time to go use your code because I bet Macy. And there is a good chance this could end up going to decision. And if it does, it's probably going to be close. But I'm going to ride the Macy train till the wheels fall off. Even though they technically fell off in the Aldana fight, I'm not going to count it because if there's ever been a lucky KO, it was that one. I will never forget when they talked to Aldana after the fight. And she was like, yeah, I was working that a lot in my camp. I was like, girl, if you don't stop. I mean, respect, I'd say the same thing, but please, okay? But anyways, I've bet Macy a ton in her career. I get it. People are saying, oh, to lose the Raquel is one thing, but to get finished. Look, let's not pretend that girl wasn't just holding the UFC title, okay?
And let's not pretend that Juliana Pena didn't win a kind of iffy decision either.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. And, I mean, she straight up didn't win that decision. I'm sorry, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I think Macy's really good. She's big. I get Ketlen's takedown defense is good. She's strong. She gave Kayla a run a little bit. A run might be pushing it, but she made it a tough for her. But I don't think Macy needs to take her down. I think she can put her up against the cage. She's got good clinch work. I've picked Macy in like every single one of her fights in the UFC. Just so happens that that's just the matchups that they've given her have been very winnable. But, you know, it's going to be tough. It's a closely lined fight for a reason. It's not like, I will say, Norma Dumont, another girl I'm super high on that I end up betting like every time she fights, she's been out wrestled once in her career. And it was to Macy Chiasson, who took her down 6 times. Now, I will say, Norma, it was a good fight, but it's not like she smoked her. But I'm big on Big Norm. And to get to see them legs and that caboose.
But let me say this. That was before my boy Marco Tullio helped, Norma reach that new level.
Nah, Norma has definitely leveled up for sure. But I'm just saying, like, even at that point, that to beat her was one thing, but to, like, take her down like that, I was pretty impressed. And you know, Norma's strong, and she obviously got strong hips. So to take her down, to hold her up against the cage,
what makes you so sure about that?
Oh, just a little technical analysis.
Just a little hunch.
A lot of tape, but yeah. So I'm gonna be on the other side, but you know, hey, it's a closely lined fight for a reason.
Yeah, for sure. Now, next up in the middleweight division, we got a matchup between Zach Reese, he's 8-2, taking on Dusko Todorovic, who's 12-5. Currently, they got it Zach Reese minus 235. The comeback on Dusko is plus 200. They got him listed at 6'4" for Reese and 6'1" for Todorovic. I think it's more like 6'5" for Reese and 5'11" for Dusko, but either way, 77-inch reach for Zach Reese, 74-inch reach for Dusko. Both men are 31 years of age, and I currently have a Vieira overlay up. And so listen, man, this is very, very interesting because both of these guys have been on the wrong end of some very, very brutal highlight reel finishes. And like that last Zach Reese one, he didn't just get knocked out by Bakoyev. The ref added insult to injury and like smashed his head on the canvas. I was like, damn, like his head bounced like a basketball. I felt like I was watching the NBA playoffs, you know what I'm saying, man? And with Dusko, he's been riddled by injuries. He's been riddled by the fact that he fights with his hands down and his chin up in the air, and he hasn't fixed that one bit. And coming to the UFC, he was super confident. But when you have that style and you've been knocked out a few times, and now your confidence is diminished, That's not a good place to be. But on the other side with Zach Reese, he's a guy that came into the UFC, 7-0, 8-0, and he's already been killed twice by, Bikoyev. I can see him being a future top 15 guy, but Cody Brundage in under 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And the Bikoyev fight wasn't even that long ago. How long ago was it to be exact? Let me double check that. Bikoyev,
just a couple months.
I mean, that shit was UFC 311. Shout out to one of my favorite bands, 311.
4 months.
That was it was this year, but when exactly this year was it? In January, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit longer than I thought to recover, but not really, Cody, because when you think about it, it's not like he's had a full layoff between the time he got knocked out and now, because he had to go back into camp, and camp entails sparring. So I'm not very confident about where Reese is at. And as bad as Dusko's knockout losses have been, it's Reese who's convulsing on the canvas. They got to bring in the stretcher. They got to bring in the smelling salts. They got to bring in the neck brace and and carry him out and shit. And one quality that Dusko has that I actually think could give Reese problems here is the takedowns to the ground and pound. I mean, I saw. Do you know who Jose Medina is by chance? Because I'm sure you probably already forgot about him. But do you know who he is?
The legend.
Okay, Jose Medina was the guy that got the shit beaten out of him on Contender Series, but because he showed heart, Dana signed him. Great. Comes to the UFC, showed. You know what it means? You know how we know he has heart? Because he's a walking punching bag. That's how we know. So this dude, Jose Medina, took down Zach Reese. That's all I got to say. If Dusko takes down Zach Reese, do not be surprised if Dusko Todorovic comes out here and gets a ground and pound finish. Now, on the feet, I think it'll kind of be the opposite. On the feet, I think Zach Reese, being a 6'5" man with, the longer reach here, he's got some devastating shots. If Dusko can't close the distance, then Dusko is going to get knocked out. But at these odds, why is Zach Reese this big of a favorite? I get Dusko is a big time liability, but is Zach Reese not a big time liability? So at these odds, I think it's dog or pass. And let's go Dusko to take this man down, ground and pound him. Hopefully no back of the head shots, but Dusko via ground and pound TKO is my pick.
Hey, I don't hate it, man, because betting Reese at this point, where he's at right now, I feel like people are just oh, he's big, he hits hard. I guess he has some submissions, but what have we really seen for him to be a big favorite over really anybody? It's less about that, to be honest. And let's be honest, it's more about Dusko. People are just oh, zero chin, anybody can knock him out. I'll say, yeah, the pick, I feel like Reese is going to get him out of there in the first round. If he doesn't, though, it's going to get dicey. I mean, because I do honestly think Dusko is pretty damn good, especially when he gets his game going. I'll be honest, terrible friggin' call by me, but when he first came to the UFC, I thought he was going to be something.
You talking about Dusko or Reese?
Todorovic.
Me too, bro. Seriously. Listen, I'll brag when I've been right about, champions I've called future top 15 guy, whatever. I said Dusko is going to be a future top 15 guy. And y'all already forgot I said that, but I'm gonna go ahead and remind y'all I said that. I was way off about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if I specifically said that, but I definitely had the same. I had the same freaking idea, dude. I really did think he was gonna be something.
Dude, sorry to cut you off again. I apologize, but since we're taking the piss, you want to know what I said he reminded me of?
Who?
Are you ready for me to bury my entire show right here, right now on Half the Battle?
It happens.
I said that he's got qualities that remind me of a Serbian Fedor.
Oh, wow. Hey, man, sometimes you shoot. Sometimes you hit them, and sometimes it don't look great. But hey, I was right there with you saying I thought this guy was going to be someone to look out for.
Guilty as charged.
Hey, I'm glad my show's not big enough for somebody to go down 5 years ago and get some of my takes because, sometimes they don't age well. Sometimes they do, and we give ourselves a pat on the back. Sometimes they don't. But, yeah, man, hey, Dusko, I really do think he's super skilled. He's just hittable, And at this point, you do got to question the durability. Like, not only the chin, but somebody, I think it was Dixon, touched on it. There's a video out there of him blowing his knee out in sparring.
It was so bad to watch.
Yeah, and then there's also what happened in a couple fights ago. He hurt his knee. So it's like,
oh, you mean that other time I lost money on him?
Yeah, man. Hey, I've lost some money on him too, so I'm right there with you. I actually had it. Okay, shit. We're talking about Dusko. I forgot. I took a dog shot on him against Mansour Abdelmalik. How'd that age?
Oh my God.
I was like, I don't know if I'm sold on this Malik guy yet.
Yes, you are.
And then he fucking killed a guy. But
I'm sold that, like, man, that dude, you don't mess around with a guy like that. Can you imagine, like, getting the call to fight that guy? Like, imagine what Coty Brundage is thinking right now. Let alone every night when Coty Brundage goes to sleep, and then when he wakes up, like, going to sleep knowing I have to fight Mansour Abdelmalik. Wake up, it's not a dream. I have to fight Mansour Abdelmalik. It's like, yeah. And that's in Atlanta. I get to see it. Y'all should come down and watch it with me.
Damn, that's sick.
Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Allan Puro Oso Nascimento. He's 20-6, taking on Jafel Filho, who's 16-3. Currently, they got it. Allan Nascimento -145. The comeback on Jafel Filho is +125. And just a slight reach advantage for Allan Nascimento. The age is virtually identical, as well as the height. And Coty, these are just two seasoned, experienced Brazilian flyweights that come from the best gyms in Brazil. I mean, we're talking Shoot to Box for Nascimento. We're talking Nova União for Filho. I mean, the two most legendary gyms in Brazil. Nova União responsible for the great Jose Aldo. Shoot to Box responsible for Vanderlei, for Shogun, for Anderson back in the day. I know nowadays it's Charles Oliveira, whatnot, but back in the day, they produced the Shoguns, the Vanderleis, the Anderson Silvas. So yeah, it's amazing to see, and I'm curious what these scrambles look like if they scramble, because oftentimes when you get to very high level, whether it's, I'm gonna say just grapplers, but whether it's high level jiu-jitsu, high level wrestling, whatever the case may be, from time to time you'll get a Gamrot versus Sarukian where they will actually go out there and scramble, but other times they want to stand up and bang. And how do you see this one playing out? Obviously both so experienced. Nascimento, he's so big for the class that part of me thinks it's good that he's taking time off. Let your organs recover. Let your kidneys kind of chill out a little bit. Hydrate yourself, because he's one of the biggest flyweights on the roster. But at the same time, with him not, cutting weight recently, now you got to go through it again. Now you got to get reminded what it's like to drop to 126 pounds. He ain't making no championship weight. He's gonna be 126. With the fucking, what's it called?
Box of shame.
It's only a box of shame if you miss weight, in my opinion. And also, but I got different definitions of different things. Like, people call Allan Nascimento a weight bully. To me, you're only a weight bully if you miss weight.
Yeah, exactly. Make weight, you're good.
Oh, well, so, a fellow purple belt that actually, is involved in this knows what he's talking about. Not to be arrogant saying shit like that, but it drives me fucking crazy when people are like, oh, this guy is big for the weight class, therefore he's a weight bully. Well, does he make the weight or not? If he makes the weight, he's not a weight bully. Like, you're a weight bully if you consistently miss weight. That's my opinion.
Yeah, if you're missing weight, and then I don't even care if you're even cutting that much weight. I wouldn't call you a weight bully. I'd just call you lazy. But I guess if you're cutting a ton of weight, I don't care if you're cutting 60 pounds. If you make weight, there's pros and cons. I've gone into tournaments cutting 0 weight, showed up and performed better than when I've showed up and been like, oh, I'm going to be the big guy in this division. And I've showed up having like 20 pounds on everybody and fought like shit. Like, literally was like throwing up between matches. Like, there's pros and cons to cutting tons of weight, man. So, yeah, I get it. And when there's punches and kicks involved, there's a balance. There's a reason there's weight classes and there's weight cutting. But if you make the weight, you're not a weight bully. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So, yeah, just another of the terrible takes you see on MMA Twitter. But anyways.
So, keep going. Tell me your take on this one first.
Yeah, for this fight, man, I think this fight is the hardest fight on the entire card to call. This is a 50-50 fight for me. I mean, you got two guys that I'm super high on, both 2-1 in the UFC, both losses in most worlds would be a win in my eyes. I feel like me and most people thought Nascimento beat Ulanbekov. Maybe I'm biased. I had some money on him there, but Filho, I always mess up his name, but his one loss to Muhammad Makayev, who's currently undefeated, who arguably should be, not even arguably, who should be fighting Pantoja for the title. I mean, okay, if we're just talking about wins and losses, I get it. I get why the UFC isn't interested in the guy. He's a problem, and he doesn't exactly put on the most entertaining fights sometimes, even though you could argue that's not always the case. He has a lot of finishes. The last couple of fights, he didn't do himself a lot of favors. That's another conversation for another day. But 95% of the people in the UFC are tapping to that knee bar. I will tell you that right now. 95% of the UFC. He had a perfect combination. That is the only reason that he stayed in that fight. He's young, he's dumb, and he's undefeated. If any of those three things aren't the case, Muhammad Makayev has a loss via knee bar, and Filho is fighting a ranked opponent right now, 3-0 in the UFC. So, you know, and then that's something to think about. And on the other side, it's like Nascimento. Dudes, I remember him fighting a Contender Series 7 years ago. I was 23 years old when he was fighting. I was a blue belt, like a one-stripe blue belt, and this guy was fighting in the UFC, or fighting on the Contender Series, which he lost. Decent fighter, but Paiva. He got in the UFC, he loses on the Contender Series, takes a 3-year layoff, or like 2.5, almost 3 years, beats a bum on the regional scene, no disrespect. And then the UFC's like, all right, you want to fight? Sure, buddy. Come in here and fight Ulanbekov real quick. Because Ulanbekov's first opponent, I think, pulled out. So they're like, yeah, sure, we'll give you a UFC shot. Come in here and get beat up by Ulanbekov real quick. And then unfortunately for the UFC, he was better than they thought. And he made it a great fight. And since then, he's had 2 great wins. You know, like, I think he's super good. It's just, I've been doing a bunch of digging and I can't find out why he's been gone. If anybody knows, please tell me in the chat, because I don't know why.
Let me say this. Honestly, fuck it. Who cares? This is why. His teammate, Daniel Willie Cat Santos, similar story. And these are like brothers. I've seen them like grapple and tap each other out on Instagram and shit. Like Daniel Willie Cat Santos, we didn't hear about him for like 2-3 years. He's pulling out of fights. He's doing all these things. When he finally shows up, he like fucking puts a 3-round clinic on a dude a weight class above him. So the reason I bring that up is because although we haven't seen Nascimento fight, I assume like those guys, the way their mentality works, it's like they live this shit. He's in the gym year round. So as long as he makes it to the fight, right? No weight cutting complications, no, you know, like get pulled out due to a medical concern. Like, I think he's showing up. And with Jafel Filho, I do have to be honest about this. I mean, I don't even know I have to preface it with that. I'm honest about everything I say on here, for better or for worse. But like in his Contender Series fight, I was very, very concerned with some of the striking that I saw from him. Don't get me wrong, the power's there and the aggression, I like all that, but there's a lot of openings and things that I see where like I can see him having certain elements, and I know I'm about to mention 2 UFC champs, so like maybe this is not a bad thing, but like certain similarities to Charles Oliveira and Fabricio Werdum, in the sense that when they start kind of getting frustrated, I could see a guy like Jafel Filho flop into his back, start telling you to come into his guard, like all that kind of stuff. And you mentioned how the Contender Series fight for Allan Nascimento was a long ass time ago, which is crazy looking back on it. Wow, time flies. But dude, that fight Allan Nascimento had with Raulian Paiva was the second best fight in Contender Series history. You know what the first best one is, right?
Oh, right? Dude, we were just talking about it. What fight was it?
Sodiq Yusuff, Mike Davis.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Sodiq Yusuff, Mike Davis, number 1. Allan Nascimento, Raulian Paiva, number 2. And that fight is unbelievable. And in that fight, you know, because we're so used to Nascimento being a back taker, being a scrambler, which the scrambles in that fight were incredible. But at distance, you put up more distance strikes in that fight than Filho has in any fight I've ever seen from him. So I think that on the feet, while Filho obviously has a chance with power, Nascimento step through knees, that kind of shoot the box style, leg kicks, combinations, flying knee, everything. And then on the mat, it's hard to say who has the advantage. Like, people are going to be like, oh, but Filho's been tapped out twice. Therefore, guys, so what? Like, so what? Like, look who he got tapped out by. That Mokaev fight, like you said, 99.99% of people on planet Earth, let alone in the UFC, don't just tap to that, get their legs snapped off. Like, props to whoever your yoga coach is, Mokaev, for being that flexible. Like, damn. Like, that was just impressive that you survived that, but that was like a done deal submission. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I see the scrambles being exciting, kind of canceling themselves out. But assuming Nascimento shows up like himself, I think he's got more avenues on the feet. So I'm going to pick him for that reason, but kind of proceeding with caution. I'm not too sure, but I'd love to sit back and watch this fight because I do expect it to be entertaining. But yeah, give me Nascimento as a pure pick, but I'm not quite sure. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Jordan Leavitt. He's 11-3, taking on Kurt Holobaugh, who's 21-9. Currently, they got it. Jordan Leavitt -220. The comeback on Kurt Holobaugh is +185. Leavitt's 29 years old. Holobaugh 38. Similar reaches, similar heights, but not similar takedown defense. Hold on, let me make sure what I'm saying here is true, my man, because we know Kurt Holobaugh has some of the most unfortunate takedown defense in all our years watching the sport, 39%. But you want to know something else? Leavitt's got worse at 30%, which is crazy. But I think the offensive takedown upside is all on the Leavitt side. It's just like, do you want to trust a grown man that twerks with your money at -220 odds? I don't. But the thing is, like, Holobaugh on the feet, I think he could box up Leavitt. Like, I think Leavitt on the feet is a joke. I know he knocked out that one guy with a fluke knee, but like any real UFC caliber guy, I mean, like, Jordan Leavitt's not even kicking with shins, he's kicking with feet, and it's like flamboyant. It's like, yeah, I don't think he's ever hurt anybody in the UFC besides that one guy who was 2 and done, So then it comes down to takedowns. Okay, yes, I do think he will get takedowns on Holobaugh. The thing about Holobaugh that bothers me is that this guy's been a black belt for how long? And like, you still can't stop a takedown to save your life. And now that you're like 38, 39, reaching 40, like, do I expect any of that to get better? No, I don't. No, I don't. So, but with Leavitt, it's like one bad moment and the fight is 100% going to leave him. Like, if Holobaugh hits him on the chin properly, I'm not even saying knock him out, knock him down. I'm saying hit him properly. That'll take the fight out of Leavitt. If Holobaugh can get back up to his feet somehow, that'll take the fight out of Leavitt. So, yeah, it's just like, is this a life alert situation with Holobaugh? Help, I've fallen and can't get up. Or do you think that, some of like the submission attempts that he had against Austin Hubbard, are those things that could apply here? Or do you just think that Leavitt's kind of like on a higher level grappling than he is? Because if you give me a reason to pick against Leavitt, you don't need to give me too much convincing here, because I don't think he's a true fighter. I think he's a martial artist, but I don't think he's a true fighter. I think there's a difference between the two.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally understand. I think you definitely made a lot of great points. The one thing I will say before I say this, though, I got to say monster shout out to my boy Liam in the chat. Another real one.
Shout out Liam.
Appreciate you.
Hey, Liam, on our boldest prediction show, we talked about, I said one of my boldest predictions was that in 2025, Mateusz Gamrot was going to take his first knockout loss because he's been dropped in 5 UFC fights in 4 of his last 6. And let's see what his opponent, Mr. Highlight, has to say about that. So shout out Liam, and yeah, keep going, my man.
I think that 5 doesn't count the Dan Hooker one, and he got dropped in that fight. I don't give a shit what the stats say. He got dropped. So really, it's 6 knockdowns.
Wait, they said he didn't get dropped by Hooker?
I'm pretty sure that didn't get marked as a knockdown.
Dude, the end of every round, Hooker fucked him up bad.
Yeah.
All right. Look, you're going to get me off on the tangent. Keep talking about the grown man that twerks.
Yeah, no. Okay, so I will say, I totally get it. First of all, at this point of the minus 220, come on, that is getting a little wild. But I do feel like Leavitt, he's got negative aura, and that contributes. We see the aura points boost a line. This is negative aura that I do feel like takes away from his line, and at least typically when he fights. Like maybe minus 220, I do think it is probably, I wouldn't lay that, I wouldn't parlay that, but I honestly do feel like Leavitt, man, this is a pretty good matchup for him. Like Holobaugh, I'm a big fan of the guy, man. I was super happy when he won the Ultimate Fighter. Like, I was rooting for him in like all those fights. And when he friggin' subbed Connor's boy, the first round pick, I was friggin' so happy for him. But realistically, even in that fight, he was getting dog walked. And hey, he pulled a veteran move out of his sleeve. It wasn't lucky. It was a veteran move on a young green guy, made a mistake, got a little tired and fucked up. Holobaugh does have good submissions, but I don't think that's going to be on the table here. I really do feel like it's kind of KO or bust, man. I mean, maybe he could hurt him in 2 of the rounds and win, but shit, let's not forget Leavitt. Like, he actually made a post a couple days ago talking about his Ogden fight, which obviously that's aged pretty well. Ogden's been doing pretty well. I know it was a terrible fight, but the post was about, and I don't think Leavitt's the type to like stroke his ego by lying about an injury.
No, he strokes other things.
Yeah, that's for sure. I don't care if he has a kid or not. He's stroking. Anyways, and then I go to his story today and he's posting like a girl, like it was like a reel about twerking. I'm just like, dude, you're by. It's fine. Anyways.
No big deal.
No big deal. No big deal. Jeff Molina got some good wins in the UFC. Okay, good's a stretch, but he had a couple wins.
Fuck Jeff Molina, and not because of who he likes, but because he's a fight-fixing piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. People are like, we should forgive him. Fuck Jeff Molina. This motherfucker should be sitting in a prison cell right now. But don't even get me started.
And let me just say one thing. People are going to be like, oh, you don't really know what the definition of fight-fixing is. Oh, really? I don't? Well, we can talk about that some other time because I'm very damn aware what the definition is, and there's many different ways that you can fix a fight, a match, whatever the case may be. We can talk about that another time. Keep going.
Yeah, cut the bullshit. Fixed fight. They fixed the fight. I don't care what anybody has to say. They all know what they did. Whether there's evidence that can support it in the court of law, whatever, I know what happened. I watched the line. I saw all their bullshit arguments. They fixed the fight. Anyways, in this fight, I don't remember where I was at with that, but I do feel like Holobaugh, man, like at this point, the takedown defense is just too much of a glaring red flag. I don't think Leavitt's the type that's like going to go out there and, let me bang with this guy. No, dude. Clearly he doesn't have clearly he's not the type to do that. I think he's going to go in there and do whatever it takes to get double the paycheck, including lay on this guy. Holobaugh's had 15 takedown shot against him. His last 15 takedowns, he gave up 11. I want to say that those numbers are right. You can check me on that. And that's not like over the course of like 1-2 fight. That's like people are taking him down and holding him there for 4 minutes. I don't know. I know because I've bet Holobaugh inside the distance only on a couple of those fights, and it ended up being okay for me. But because he is tough, he is durable. But I just think Leavitt's going to lay on this guy. I was saying he posted about the Ogden fight. He apparently fractured his his fibula days before that fight. He could barely walk. And he said, fuck it. I'm going to go in there and just fight southpaw. He was like, I couldn't shoot a takedown because it hurt too bad to bend down. So I just went in there and said, fuck it. I can't afford to pull out.
Wait, Leavitt said it hurt too much to bend down?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe something else happened. I don't know.
I wonder why.
Yeah. I don't know.
Just give me your pick.
Anyways, Leavitt decision.
Okay. Shout out Holobaugh. I've been watching this guy since he beat Desmond Green back in like 10 years ago and shit. And like Desmond Green was the guy that beat Charles Jourdain and Josh Emmett. So Kurt Holobaugh's got some great wins along the way. I'm going to pick the grown man that twerks via top control. I'm sure that's music to his ears, but yeah, may the best man win. Now, next up in a 180-pound catchweight bout, we got a matchup between Andreas Bane Gustafsson. He's 11-2, taking on Trevin Officer Giles, who's 16-7. Currently, they got it Andreas Gustafsson minus 160. The comeback on Trevin Giles is plus 140. So the older man's making his UFC debut at 34. So the good news for Andreas Gustafsson is that he is flat out in his prime. There's no time to waste whatsoever. We can't give you any easy fights. It's right into the mix right away. I really liked him against Jeremiah Wells in that original matchup. I feel like he fights at twice the pace of Jeremiah Wells, and he was going to break him. With Giles, it's a little bit different because Giles does have some sharp hands, and Giles tends to give people issues early, but Giles has a master's degree in self-imploding, and I truly believe that's going to be on full display Saturday night. You know, I think that the early going, one thing I love about Gustafsson is he knows exactly where his strengths lie. He's not going to fight uncharacteristic. He's going to do what he does, which is as soon as the bell rings, he's going to get right into that clinch. And when I say right into the clinch, I'm not talking about sniffing crotch or making the crowd boo. I'm talking about elbows to the face. I'm talking about knees to the body. And like his opponent on Contender Series, who was like 9-1 with like 9 finishes, like, dude, Gustafsson straight up broke this guy's face. And y'all remember Alexander Gustafsson, the original Swedish fighter? He was like the 205 kind of Dominic Cruz that gave John Jones his toughest fight back in the day. So his nickname is the Mauler. But this guy, Bane Gustafsson, Andreas, he actually fights like a mauler. And I think he's going to maul Trevin Giles Saturday night. Look, are there going to be some sketchy moments? Yes, but I think that Gustafsson is durable enough to take whatever Trevin Giles brings to the table. And B, we know Giles can give it. We just know he can't take it too. And Saturday night, I really believe he will not take it too. And I think that Gustafsson's going to break him down the stretch. So give me Andreas Gustafsson to come out here and win his UFC debut and hopefully get matched up with Jeremiah Wells again. And let's see what happens. Let's take it from there.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. I agree with you. You broke it down pretty much exactly how I would. I mean, I did want to touch on the chat talking about, he did actually post that. He posted his game plan for Saturday is to go full R word. So don't want to get you flagged. But anyways.
No, that's what I want, because what he means by that is there's no feeling out process. We're going to faint for like 2 minutes before someone throws their first punch. It's as soon as that bell rings, boom, right in the guy's face. That's what he means. So that's what I want if I'm going to back Gustafsson.
AKA a dog on a bone. And he's fighting a guy who's got 1 foot out, man. He's a full-time cop. He's lost 3 in a row, finished in 2 of them. And just almost honestly worse than the last one, because it was just like, it looked like he didn't even want to be in there. And then sure enough, after the fight, he mentions retirement. So it's like the trifecta, dude. Terrible performances, mention the retirement, losing his durability, 1 foot out, full-time job, every sort of outside of the cage red flag imaginable. I get it. He's got a great jab. We're going to hear about it on the broadcast 20 times. That's it, though. He puts nothing behind it. He's probably going to jab Gustafsson up for the first round and then be looking good for like 2 minutes into the second and then get fucking slept.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, I think you said it pretty well, my friend. You know, and on the Leavitt fight, just on one thing. So my dog, my puppy, he's not a puppy. He's like 4 years old, but to me, he's my puppy. His name's Leo. My command for him when he needs to drop something is leave it. So I'm like, leave it. You know, when he starts challenging me, it's gonna be kind of funny if he does similar things while Jordan Leavitt is fighting. Have some friends over, I'm screaming leave it. They're like, wait, I thought you were rooting for the other guy. But anyways, so next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Bolaji Oki. He's 9-2, taking on Michael Aswell, who is 10-2. Currently, they got it Bolaji Oki minus 365. The comeback on Michael Aswell is plus 290. 29 years old Bolaji Oki, 24 years old. Michael Aswell, 5'10 versus 5'8. And a nice little 4-inch reach advantage for the Belgian kickboxer Bolaji Oki in this spot. So, Coty, what's interesting about this is obviously the short notice for Aswell. A lot of people thought that he should have maybe beat Bogdan Grad, but more than if I'm willing to take a stance on that. I thought, the kid deserves a UFC shot. But one big advantage for Balaji here, besides the fact that he's the one on the full camp and that, as well as taking this on a couple day notice, is that there isn't much of a switch in the style of opponents. The only difference is that Michael Aswell is significantly less athletic than Markel Medeiros and gets hit a lot more than Markel Medeiros. So I feel like what makes Aswell and Medeiros similar, the switching of the stances, the volume, the point striking, stuff like that. But I just feel like Markel Medeiros is way better at that style, and he was going to give Balaji. I thought it had a potential to be like a 50-50 fight. Whereas this, although Aswell, he's gonna land volume, but like the difference when Oki's landing his shots is gonna be so much more impactful to where if Aswell's not getting dropped or knocked down or whatever the case may be, it's still gonna be enough, whether it's in terms of damage, whether it's in terms of impact, whether it's just the ahs, the bigger moments. So yeah, give me Oki in this spot. I can't confidently say it's gonna be a knockout, but I just do think he's gonna beat up Michael Aswell over 3 rounds.
Yeah, and I think there's one more big advantage on and that's the size, man. Oswald's a featherweight, and he's really not the biggest featherweight either. He doesn't look to cut. It doesn't seem like he cuts a ton of weight. He kind of he did come in the best shape I've ever seen him in that Contender Series fight. He was pretty ripped up in that one. But if you go and watch the tape, he's typically one of those guys. He doesn't have like a crazy, daunting physique. He's like a smaller featherweight. And Oki, like, dude, he's big. Like, he's going to be the taller, longer, and, like, thicker, like, stronger guy. He's going to have a lot of physical advantages, man. Oki's a big lightweight. And, like, Oswell, I think this is just, like, a short notice. I don't see him fighting at lightweight beyond this fight. But he's a dog. Like, I thought he won the Grad fight. I did bet him, so I was biased. He did show me some love in the comments for the breakdown. So I wanted to pick him here. I'm biased. I've been rooting for this guy. I've been waiting for him to get his opportunity. Like, cool dude. But I just think he's up against it. I think he loses this fight. And like you said, that's a great point because he does have a similar style to Medeiros in the sense of they fight off the jab. They're going to typically come. Well, Medeiros kind of mixes it up, but Oswell probably a little bit more forward pressure, but like you said, probably less athletic, less physical gifts, but great volume, great cardio, tough. Like, I think Oki wins a decision. I don't think he gets him out of there, but I think Oswald can beat some guys in the featherweight division. I just think
no question about it. I think he belongs here, but this is a tough one on your first out. But I mean, like, Oki's still a green guy. Oki still has some things to figure out. So let's see how it goes. But
sure.
like I said, I thought the Markel Medeiros fight was a tougher one on paper.
Yeah.
Now, last but not least, in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Rayani Amanda Dos Santos. She's 14-8, taking on Elise Argelian, who's 9-7. Currently, they got it. Rayanne Amanda minus 265. The comeback on Elise Argelian is plus 225. Both ladies have a 62-inch reach, 5'3" against 5'2", 33 versus 29, with Elise Argelian being the older fighter here. And I saw something on Twitter, my boy, I think it was my boy Pepe talking about how, like, how is this such a wide line when, Dos Santos is a thin margins fighter? And I was like, you're right. And Argelian is a thick margin fighter. And gentlemen, I don't have much analysis on this except that I know who I'm rooting for, and I know at these odds who I'm rooting for, and I see this being another split decision 50-50 fight. I don't know what side of the bed Ron McCarthy woke up on. I don't know, which mobster called up, one of the, called up Adelaide the morning before the fight. I don't know if Chris Lee is going to actually be watching the fight or not. So when they are watching the fight, hopefully that has an impact on how they view it. And for that reason, I'm going to take Argelian via split decision. Now, if it was minus 110 apiece, I probably wouldn't do that, but at these odds, I will do that. So pure pick, I'll go Argelian for controversial split decision that everyone says, we need an overhaul of judging, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, man, I bet Ardeline plus 250, dude. I'm just gonna ride it out. I get it. Everybody's like, oh, she's only here because she has TikTok followers. She sucks. Honestly, like I've seen much worse girls in the division and in the
For sure.
UFC, dude. Like she's not.
I mean,
that
didn't this opponent lose to Pooja Tomar?
Exactly. Pooja Tomar, like get at, and now to be fair, I thought she won that fight pretty easily. Or not easily. But I thought she did edge all 3 of the rounds, but that's the key word, edge. Because she does fight the thin margins. Like she's lost 2 splits now. That could have went either way. But now you're gonna make her a 3-1 favorite when she's literally 0-2 in the UFC with 2 splits. Also on the other side, I thought Ardeline won her debut. It was a close fight, could have went either way, but she could have won that fight. And now you're going to give me plus 250 against a girl who's literally 0-2 against bottom of the barrel girls. Like she literally lost to 2 girls who are barely have a job in the UFC, and she's 3-1. In what world? Also, she's not even a real freaking strawweight. This girl's tiny. She's tiny. Ardeline's gonna be the stronger girl. So you're giving me a plus 250 girl who's gonna be bigger, stronger. Honestly, I think she like wants it more. Like she gets after it a little bit more. She's not as skilled, but is Dos Santos even going to shoot takedowns? Because if she doesn't, this is going to be a freaking boring, slow, either way fight. Give me the plus 250 dog, obviously. I'll play that again next week, no matter what.
Well, Coty, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me right here, right now on Half the Battle. The fans can follow you at Coty MMA on both X and on YouTube. Any message for the fans before I get you out of here, my man?
Nah, man. I appreciate you having me. One of my favorite guys in the community, one of the OGs, and a smart dude. Not just been around for a long time, but I really respect your opinion. So good to break it down a full card. We do get to chop it up sometimes, but good to go through a whole card. I did see all the GM3 comparisons in the chat. It's so funny. I never got that until I interviewed him. He's actually become one of my friends. Like, super cool dude. So I'm so biased when he fights it. But anyways, appreciate you having me, man. Coty MMA on everything. I do these breakdowns on all the fight cards. Shout out to your chat. Bunch of freaking awesome guys in there that I love to see. Bunch of sharp-ass chat, too, which just doesn't surprise me. But I appreciate you having me, man.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much. We'll do it again soon. To all the fans, thank you all so much. You know what it is. Much love. You know, for real, for real. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe, leave me a comment, share if you feel so inclined. Y'all know where to follow me. Best Fight Picks on Twitter, Half the Battle Pod on Instagram, Half the Battle Podcast on TikTok. I'm gonna be back next week, and the way it's looking, episode 600 of Half the Battle is gonna fall on the UFC Atlanta card. So got some very special things planned for that. One more thing. On today's episode of Half the Battle, there was a little surprise Easter egg that I'm not sure if you guys noticed. I'll give you a hint. It was kind of a tribute to the old school Half the Battle and certain ways we used to do things. So if you catch up on it, you let me know, but privately message me so that people don't see your answer and then they rip you off. And for all the people that give me the correct answer, you'll be entered into a drawing, and I'll do the little Wheel of Fortune thing and give the winner a signed piece of UFC memorabilia. So that's all you got to do. Find what the hidden Easter egg was on today's show. That's kind of a tribute to old school Half the Battle. So you do that, you'll be in good hands. And my friends, until the next time, let's cash these bets.